Looking to pick up a fun Halloween-themed module for your D&D campaign that currently has 5 adventures, a bunch of random tables, and is actually going to continue to expand over the course of the month of October? Well, if that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned to this DM's Guild review about Behold, Liar's Night. What's going on, guys? Ted from Immersion here, and we're here on the DM's Guild, and you can see right here is Behold, Liar's Night. This is made by a good friend of mine, Emily Smith, who I met at D&D Live, who actually ran my Adventure League table for me. And she sent me this as a review copy, so I will say that up front. That being said, I will give you my official, unbiased review on this. It only came out 3 days ago at this point, and it's already a best copper seller. And you can see here it already has 2 reviews for 5 stars, but you can see what it has listed here, and this is what I wanted to kind of go through. 5 bone-chilling adventures, custom tables for frightening familiars, spooktacular spells, macabre magic items, terrifying trinkets, Monstrous Madness, and more. And it says special event. This is the part I wanted to touch on. Throughout the month of October, we will be providing additional content unlocks as we achieve DM's Guild medals, including more alarming adventures and terrifying tables, high-tier content, wild magic table, random counters. You'll just have to stick around and see. The price of the anthology will increase as we unlock additional content, but if you purchase it now, you will automatically receive the additional content for free as it becomes available. Is there something you want to see? Let us know in the DM's Guild review or on Twitter. And here's our Twitter account with hashtag Behold. So it is currently $5.95. I don't know if that's increased because it hit Copper Bestseller. I think that just recently happened, so I'm not sure. But keep that in mind. So if you want to go pick that up, there'll be a link in the description to get it now before the price increases. And here we have the module. First of all, the art for the front cover is awesome. It's like a beholder inside a pumpkin. And it's actually, the story behind it is Behold the Beholder is the name of kind of the guy telling the story. And if you're unfamiliar, Liar's Night is basically the Faerunian equivalent of Halloween. So you can see right here, we have each adventure has a table. So we have a familiar sight with a list of familiars, Restless Spirit with a list of trinkets, Sorrow's Revel with a list of special magic item masks, the Deceiver's Gala, and then Liar's Night Madness, and then Curse of the Living Yarn Doll, and Liar's Night Spells. So we have a little intro piece here from Behold the Beholder. I don't think I really need to go into how to use this book. So one thing I will say, as always, because there is it's a purchasable module, I'm not going to go through the entire module, so it doesn't discourage you from buying it. I'll probably go through a couple little things to give you a little bit of taste, and then you can make your choice whether you want to pick it up or not. I will also say on our Twitch channel this past Monday, which today's the 11th, or sorry, this past Tuesday, so Tuesday the 8th, I actually ran Sorrow's Revel, the 3rd module in the series. So if you want to see some of my friends play through that, that's on our Twitch channel currently. It will be uploaded to Nerd Immersion Plays relatively soon. So let's keep going through. So I guess what I'll probably do, because I already played through Sorrow's Revel, I'll talk about that adventure, and then we'll maybe grab a couple things from the different tables, because they're really cool. And I love the trinkets, the spooky trinkets. So the adventures sort of have different tones to them. The first 2 are kind of like more spooky, fun adventures, you know, like bad guy stealing the candy from the local, you know, Liar's Night Festival, that kind of a thing. The middle 2, 3, and 4 are more murder mystery, and the 5th one is just grander and more fun. And the adventures kind of increase in scale, meaning you start off in like a tier 1 to, you know, level 1 to 4 module, and then it increases to 5 to 10. So let's skip ahead. See, here's a little tiny complaint. I think any module should always come with the bookmarks for all of the different, the sections. It's just something simple so you can jump ahead to where you want to go. So we jump ahead to the familiars, and you see, because she runs Adventures League stuff, it does have this nice little kind of epilogue thing with the treasure and the combat experience and things like that you get in the Adventurers League. So here are the familiars that you can get as a prize, and they're interesting because they're all like weird and unique. So let's try, like here, if you roll a 3 on 2d8, this black cat has an elaborate carved pumpkin for a head. Within its carved gourd is a tiny candle that sheds dim light in a 10-foot radius. Creature has the same statistics as a cat, but with blind sight to 30 feet. The pumpkin-headed cat has no interest in other creatures whatsoever. It habitually ignores them unless they conveniently offer it treats or praise. And then we have the ghost doggo, which is actually called a 3-headed doggo. Is incorporeal, but walks as if it has all 4 legs. Wearing a collar and a tag that reads Gus Gus. Use the same statistics as a mastiff, except it has this etherealness trait. And the only vocalizations of this creature can only be heard telepathically by its new master, and it is extremely chatty. So then there's a whole bunch more of different familiars. Then we're going to jump ahead here to the second adventure where we have the Trinkets, and I'll roll a percentile real quick, and we'll read one, and then we'll move on to the actual adventure. So I got an 80. What's 80? A set of 7 unremarkable wooden dice, which always roll 1s. It's pretty interesting when we played on, when we played on Tuesday, because one of the first items received was a caramel apple that changes your alignment. So our lawful good cleric turned into a neutral evil cleric, because he ate them, and you could get rid of it with the Dispel Magic or a Remove Curse spell. I'm sorry, guys. So, Adventure 3 is Sorrow's Revel. I gave my players the option to play kind of the more fun, spooky adventures at the start, or to play a murder mystery. They said they wanted to play a murder mystery also because it was a one-shot. It let them play higher level characters. And this is a pretty interesting adventure. It starts off, there's some stuff you can kind of adjust, and I kind of fit this into my own homebrew world rather than into Faerun, but it was fine. And essentially your characters are seemingly established, and some like a local guardsman walks you over to basically a murder scene. And while you're there, you inspect the body, and you find out that his face has been removed with like a careful cut instrument has removed his face, stabbed in the back. You find some more information and things around the around the corpse and around the the scene of the crime, and find out it seems like he may have gone to a local kind of sundry magic item shop run by someone named Levencia. And then when you go and check on, then you can your next basically option is where he was going and where he went, and you go to either check out where he was going, or the woman who he seemed to visit who owned this shop. You also know that his dad put out a 6,000 gold piece bounty on finding the killer, because they think he's been missing for a while and they assume he's been dead. So you go and visit her. She is super smart and just doesn't understand that he was trying to basically hit on her all the time. But she tells you that he just dropped 50,000 gold this morning on a mask. What was interesting was my players never actually told her that he died. They just said he was missing and they were looking for him. So some of the information he couldn't provide, or she couldn't provide, because she thought he was still lost. Basically, she tells him a lot about this mask and what's been going on, and then they leave the shop and they're basically assaulted by him as an undead and some shadows. They manage to defeat him, and then like smoke seeps out of his body and rushes towards the kind of big city necropolis. And then there's like a hooded figure and a bunch of shadows, and they fought him, and then he comes back, he's brought back, and they fight him. And you find out, lo and behold, who the murderer is. Well, I'm not going to tell you that. That's a spoiler. But it was really interesting, and one of the cool things for this one was her shop has a bunch of magic item masks. You can see all the different masks here, and they range from 100 gold to 50,000 plus gold to an artifact that's crazy powerful. And you can see right here, like, here's one. This one gives you a bite attack as an action, which does 2d10 plus your strength mod. This one like lets you do some extra damage, and you can climb up stuff. And this one is you're immune to magic that would aid you. You know, you get the point. It's a pretty. There's a lot of cool, unique, and they all have. Not all of them have art, which is my only. The only downside in my mind is that they don't all have art of what each mask looks like. But that's just a minor nitpick. You know, this one basically gives you Scorching Ray, and they kind of do a good job because a lot of them replicate existing magic items, like basically taking a circlet of blasting and putting it into a mask. Something simple, but pretty cool. The next one is the Deceiver's Gala, and this one has, where is it? This one has Liar's Night Madnesses. So here you can see, I eat spiders, flies, and worms, and any small insect I can grab. So we've got a very Renfield from Dracula vibe here. I see evidence of vampires everywhere, their lore and their history. I hunt after them, but I refuse to kill them. I'm often attracted to people I meet, but I can't decide if I want to seduce them or kill them. It seems like, from what I can tell from this, that this one is based on vampires. Then 5 is the adventure of the Curse of the Living Yarn Doll. And this one is pretty interesting because throughout it you can find new spells that were written. So here are the new spells, and they're pretty interesting. I looked through them, I'd say pretty extensively. I'm not sure where they fall. I mean, it depends, right? Are you going to give your players the ability to access these just for this adventure, or are you going to give them access to these forever? Some of them I think are perfectly fine. Some of them I think are a little on the powerful side for what they are. So let's look at the first one here, Spookify. You call out to the spirits of spookiness to bring the wrath of terror down on your enemies. Choose a point within 60 feet. The spirits cause undead to rise from the grave, and spirits fill the air in a 60-foot cube centered on that point. Undead mists. Any area in the cube is filled with mists. Crawling claws swarm out of the ground. At the end of each of your turn, one creature of your choice that is on the ground in the cube must succeed on a strength saving throw, become restrained. Restrained creature can break it with an athletics check equal to your spell save DC. Haunting Spirit is a bonus action on your turn. You can cause a mournful spirit to aggressively haunt a creature in your cube. That creature must succeed on a charisma save or become haunted until the end of its next turn. While haunted in this manner, it has disadvantage on all attack rolls, ability checks, and its movement is 0. It cannot benefit from bonuses to movement. So it's, you know, this is an area control spell. We've got, you know, a mist, kind of almost like a fog cloud, a little bit of a restrain, and, you know, there's basically a restrain, because, again, then, like, a little bit of disadvantage. Let's see. Jack's Headless Servant. Some of these, again, you'll see are replications of existing spells, but with a spooky vibe. So Jack's Headless Servant is an attacking one, right? You summon a Headless Horseman, and it cuts a swath 5 feet by 60 feet, so it's a 5-foot line, 60 feet wide. They make a dexterity saving throw or take 2d8 bludgeoning damage on a failed save and is knocked prone. I don't think that that's too bad. That actually may be a little underpowered, considering at next level you're going to have Lightning Bolt, which is 100 feet and 8d6 damage, but it doesn't knock him prone. So, you know, you have a... choose direction you choose. Each creature in a line. Yeah, I'm not really sure how that one fits in perfectly. I do also like that for the most part there's a couple of typos in some spots, but at the bottom of each spell it tells you the classes that can use it, which, sorry, there's a fly in here, that I do like, and that's kind of something I wish was in 5th edition as it stands. Get out of here. This little fly bother me. So let's see what else. Oh, actually I caught it. That's cool. Summon Minor Undead, summons a Crawling Claw. Jack's Pumpkin Polymorph is a 4th level spell. It's the same level as Polymorph, but you know, the transformation lasts for the duration. Will attract up to 0 hit points. Creature, let's see. Well, reverse to its normal form, the creature returns to the number of hit points it had. Oh, they take the new form of a small white jack-o'-lantern using Shrieker stats. Creature isn't limited in its actions. It can reform by the nature of its new form. It can't speak, cast spells, or take any other actions that require hands or speech. Gear melds into it. Nothing crazy there. Aura of Death was a pretty good one. I enjoyed that one. See, this one here's one. Jack's Headless Horse. It's essentially Fine Steed, but what it is it's a headless nightmare. So what I can't tell from reading it, and there's some like themes about it disappears in brimstone and stuff like that. What I can't tell is this just a Find Steed spell, but instead of the normal options for Find Steed, it summons a nightmare, which is arguably way better than any of the options for Find Steed, and in some cases even better than the options for Find Greater Steed. You know, immunity to fire, it provides that resistance to anyone who rides it. It can fly. It can ethereal jaunt into the ethereal plane, but it's just headless, which serves no negative side effect to it. So you basically just get a nightmare. It doesn't have a head, but you now have a Fine Steed that is essentially a nightmare with all the benefits of being a nightmare, the improved damage, the fire damage, all that stuff. I think it can impart its either fire resistance or fire immunity to its rider. So there's a lot of good benefits to that, and that, in my mind, seems way too powerful to be a second-level spell. Like, that should easily be a fourth-level spell for a paladin, because you don't get that many high-level spells. It's going to last until it's dispelled. It takes 10 minutes. Yeah, so it's the same as Fine Steed. Bring it to 0. Yeah, I mean, it works out. Yeah, so that would be what I would say. That would need to be, that's a little OP in my mind. Unless it's just a nightmare in appearance, like it's a warhorse, but it just looks like a headless nightmare, then that would be fine. Okay. Midnight's Healing Whiskers is similar to a Healing Spirit spell. Let's look at the cantrips, because the cantrips are essentially redos of a lot of them. So Ghostly Wail is Toll the Dead, except it's a charisma saving throw. Otherwise, it looks like it's pretty much exactly the same. So I'm not sure if that's OP or not, because it's basically Toll the Dead, which is a wisdom save, which is much more resisted, but now you're getting it as a charisma save. And charisma saves much harder, I would say, much less common resisted, or creatures have less of a bonus to charisma saving throws. I don't know. I do like Dante's Darkness. It's essentially the equivalency of a light spell, but it's darkness. It's just the inverse of the light spell. Fall's Embrace is Sacred Flame, but it's themed to be leaves, and it does magical slashing damage as opposed to radiant damage. I'm fine with that. There's really no benefit to that. It's a cool concept. It's just slashing damage over radiant, but that's good. Spectral Rend, I believe, is a new one. Yeah. Wanting spirits appear and strike a creature of your choice that you can see within range. The target must succeed on a strength saving throw. Oh no, it's different. It'd be dragged up to 10 feet in a straight line towards you and take a d8 necrotic damage. So this is essentially like a lightning lure spell. So I'm okay with this one. I like this one. I like the concept of it. The rending claws pull you in. I like that. Candy Corn Catapult. This is basically Magic Stone. And then this last one is one that kind of got me when I was talking about things being OP. Tasha's Warbling Wail. Within hostile creatures, so all creatures within 30 feet of that can hear you must make a con save. On a failure, they drop to 0 hit points. On a success, they take 3d8 psychic damage. I'm sorry, what? A second level spell for bards, sorcerers, and warlocks, and you could potentially drop every creature within 30 feet of you to 0 hit points with one spell. That's way too OP. I mean, I'd be fine with like a radius damage, a 30-foot radius psychic damage spell. You know, they take 3d8 psychic damage or half on a failure or half on a success. I'd be fine with that. That might even be too OP as it stands right there. But a spell that's a second level spell that can knock everyone that you want, potentially. I mean, it's a con save, right? Every monster typically has like a relatively good constitution, or possibly proficiency in constitution saving throws. However, a spell that can let you potentially mass drop people from from within 30 feet to 0 hit points, and then even if they succeed, they still take damage, seems like a little much to me, and I'm sure everyone would agree. But that was my review of Behold Liar's Night. I wanted to, again, I get these copies for free, and these are done by friends, but, I'm going to call it like it is. If some of the stuff seems a little out of place, I'm going to. Unfortunately, at this point, it recently got the Copper bestseller, so I can only review it as it stands before any of the additional content has been added. But again, as of me reviewing this at 5:56 a.m. on the 11th of October, that's all there is, and it's $5.95. So go ahead and go pick up a copy of it. I do still enjoy this. The fun, spooky adventures for Halloween are awesome. They make great one-shots. They could also be, you could build a town around these adventures where these are like, it's a Halloween themed, town or whatever, Liar's Night, and then, you can play through all of them and have like a mini campaign with these 5 adventures or more when more are added. One thing that I've taken to doing as well is it's Halloween, it's October, right? It's getting into the spooky time of the month. So I'm using the spooky trinkets as like the trinkets that I'll be using in my games if people find trinkets. The familiars are cool, and I always toe the line when it comes to adding new spells to things. So I want to go through and pick out a couple, and maybe I'll add some of those into the game so that my players can have access to them. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Did you pick up Behold Liar's Night yourself? Are you on the fence? What are your thoughts on what I kind of went over here? Halloween and spooky holiday adventures are always fun. And when I got this one, I wanted to make sure I reviewed it while it was still relevant to Halloween, unlike doing a Christmas review in July, like I did, or September, like I did with one of my other reviews. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already, so you can stay up to date on this kind of things. And again, if you want to see, like I said, we just did one shot of this on Tuesday. We do stream on Twitch every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and actually this coming Sunday as well. We'll be doing a Mistress of Modules, or we'll be playing 3 new, kind of part 1 of a one-shot series that my friend Celeste will be running. So there's a link in the Twitch, the link to the Twitch channel down below, so you can head over there and follow us there if you so choose as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.